You know, Limerance initially feels like this, and eventually it morphs into that. Hi, this is Quantum Leap 31, also known as Bad Artist. I'm the first person to talk about this, why I believe quantum leaping is deeply related to limerence. You have a feeling inside of you that knows that you can use this energy for something else, and all the attachment talk that the researchers, let's say the observers, the ones that are actually sitting from the outside and not really experiencing it, have, which is for you to go to therapy, which is for you to do this and that, but it hasn't helped. So this information is from someone that was inside of it. Not only has it happened once, it has happened twice. And we all know how, if you have had experienced it, then you know how beautiful it can be in the beginning. Eventually, you you know how freaking time wasting it can be. And yeah, we're just gonna get into all the things that people don't talk about, but we're gonna get you to help. Attachment style, and this is why you have fallen victim to this or whatever, and blah blah blah. Unfortunately, I do not believe that approaching a problem from the problem point of view will lead to an answer. So, okay, begin with this, the activating moment. Right, with every limerence occurrence, there's always that activating moment. That activated moment is accompanied by time freezing, and everything falls around you except you and that particular person, and then time collapses. It almost as if perhaps like 2 seconds will feel like 10 seconds, because you are no longer understanding time from a 3D plane. And that's why I believe it is related to quantum leaping, because at this moment portals open. When I say portals, I mean frequencies open. When I say frequencies, I mean your own powerful specific frequency that you have a hunger for, and this will connect to everything else. Okay, so yeah, I remember when I remember when I was volunteering at this art space, and I was looking at these young artists play instruments, and I was watching them, and I was watching their bodies, and I can say that it gets to a point where you show up for something again, and again, where it changes your body, and you start moving with the instrument, and the instrument and you are one, right? For the people who have really invested in working towards something. So I had the same feeling with the limerence thing when it initially happened, or even when it happened the second time. It's this feeling of, it will move you, it will shape you, it will change you. And when something like that happens, we can talk about it. We can tell people that we will forget about it. We have forgotten about it. We were just being silly. We were just being vulnerable at the time. But the fact remains that you will forever, it will have an imprint, an impact on you, whether you admit it or not. And there's a reason for it. How to channel the energy of limerence properly. It will happen again. The reason it will happen again is because you have been exposed to a specific portal, almost like a reflection of your own frequency, the most powerful version of it. And so once you see that and then you return to the lower levels of the frequency that are not actually the right match for you, what ends up happening is it will happen again, because your soul, you will move towards it. Okay? Now, in terms of the dark side of that, Well, if it's something so beautiful, then why not move towards it again in the future if it's inevitable? And the answer to that is for the people who are, I don't know what stage you are in this, right? Like, I don't know if this is your first time in Limerance. I don't know if you're within the mid stages or towards the end, wherever stage that you're on. After the activating moment, you will be wasting a lot of time because you have outsourced what you had experienced to that person, and you will think, oh, I need to be with that person because I will never experience this type of feeling again. And I will get the next point that I actually want to talk about with this is movies. All right, the energy of limerence, especially specifically that activating moment where the colors get brighter, and there's a sensory overload. There is a dropping of noise. We kind of, as society, we equate that with finding the one. And the issue is that is we really can't blame the people too much for experiencing it, because based on what we've seen and heard and whatever, the people who say, oh my god, like when I met the one or whatever, the energy, like everything dropped and all I could see was that person, blah blah blah. It's very similar to how people who are experiencing limerence describe it, right? On to my next point. It's a question that I want you to sit with right now, and the question is, why do we allow that type of focused attention to happen for love? Why do we allow it to happen for love? And just sit with that question. So a couple months ago, maybe it's been a year ago, I don't know, but I was, and I was the first person to make this connection of quantum leaping and limerence, and a lot of people were, let's just say, triggered, activated by it. There were some people that knew what I was saying they had felt as well, right? Perhaps they never said it out loud, but they've always kind of like known that's what it was for. And there's some people who are like, how dare you connect something as, I don't know, sickly as like limerence be connected to quantum leaping. You're like enabling people. I'm not enabling people. What I'm saying is, yeah, get the help that you need, get the therapy that you need, get the whatever that you need. In my experience though, energy is always transferred. It always moves from, it's never destroyed, it's always transferring. So if you think that it will just go away, especially if you have been shaped and moved by it, it will not, right? Like maybe you get to the point where you can mask it, but that experience will forever be there. Who talk about attachment styles and, oh, this is trauma response and there's particular people, blah blah blah. My issue with all of that is they're not answering this from the inside out. They're from the outside observing the people. So why would I believe people who haven't experienced it when I am the source? I have experienced it myself. There's no way. What I have noticed about, and I want to tell you, the people who are prone to limerence are very energetically sensitive. They have not used their sensitivity in the right ways, but they are in fact different from other people. They pick up on the subtleties of energy, and this is where I agree with in terms of being having this anxious attachment style or whatever attachment style, or even maybe early trauma, right? Like being energetically sensitive comes from conditioning of your environment from your you had to, this was what you had to do to survive, but it doesn't change the fact that it turns out being a gift at the end of the day. I want to mention something that was really important to me, and that has formed the perspective that I have now. I am a recovered alcoholic, and with people who are prone to addiction or prone to that type of behavior, they have a capacity that most people don't. Like I said, I'm looking at my notes. They have the ability to go all in, to sacrifice everything for one thing. It is destruction, but we live in a world of duality. When that energy is directed properly, it becomes power, it becomes focused. So limerence is very much the same energy. So the first time my limerence happened, I didn't have any of this information at all. All right, so what did I end up doing? I remember there was like this activating moment, and then I was, each time the limerence happened, I was on the brink of something internally. I will tell you that. So that's one thing that you have to look out for. You're on the brink of something in your life, something you're breaking through, like you're almost tuning in the frequency of your own life. And I remember I just did not have the information. So what did I end up doing? I spent the next 2 years obsessing about that particular person. Remember, the entire summer I just spent it watching tarot videos, because I thought the end result was supposed to be, I was supposed to be with that person. Actually, I do have a disclaimer that I want to give right now. I know how limerence works, and I know how even if you say, I know this has nothing to do with that person, there's always going to be that little voice inside of you, especially in the beginning, that's like, maybe in this video, this woman is going to tell me that I'm supposed to be with that person, and just will take time, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to tell you right now, you might want to switch this video immediately if you think that's going to happen. That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But it's also, you have no idea what kind of life awaits you if you decide to utilize that energy properly. Maybe this is a good, I don't know if I should talk about this now. Should I talk about this now? Because this is okay, fine. So a big part of this puzzle is the capacity to, it's not even only to stay in discomfort, the capacity to stay in the good of something. And whether we know it or not, especially for women, we have subconsciously been programmed to allow ourselves to get permission, or to give ourselves permission to feel good only in the areas of romance. So we don't even have the capacity, our body doesn't really have the references or the images for how good it can feel for our desires to come to fruition, for our deepest desires to come to fruition. And so that's why we allow ourselves to get so deep into limerence. And it can be true for men as well, because we've been trained societally to believe that even if you achieve anything that you want in this world, it is meaningless without love. And so our capacity for experiencing that or energetically focusing on that feels like that's where it's supposed to go, and that's where we allow ourselves energetically to go that far with our focus. Because I had told you to think about that question. Why do we allow ourselves to focus on love that way? Why we allow ourselves to energetically go that far? Right? Back to the stuff that I was talking about. So the first time I had experienced it, had zero knowledge, I just didn't, I don't know. I just didn't think. I just thought it was about the person. The second time it happened, I was able to, I had a better understanding of things because this time I had removed alcohol from my life. I stopped smoking cigarettes. I really had no crutches. Had none. So I don't even think I was having sex. So sex was removed, alcohol was removed, cigarettes were removed. I wasn't smoking marijuana, nothing. So all I had was I had gotten a lot better at just sitting in the discomfort of something. What was I able to realize with that activating moment? So with that activating moment, what happens is, and I'm excited to talk about this, okay. The activating moment has this wonderful quality of it where all the desires, the shoulds, the wants get clarified, and you're very clear about the identity that you want for yourself. And as humans, I don't think we realize how much addicting clarifying energy is. Or if you identify as a type of person who has so many desires and you know you have the discipline for it, but you just don't know which one to go after fully because you feel like you're being called this way, you're being called that way, and all the desires feel sort of equally important. Some feel like they are money related and some feel like they're not money related, but if you're debilitated by those desires, when that activating moment occurs, your identity, the identity that you want, that's core to your authenticity, is clarified and you're clear. So that's one thing that I figured out about the activating moment. It gives you a lot of clarity about yourself. Okay, Limerance, it feels like that activating moment, whatever, it clarified your desires like a tuning fork. The first time, I'll go back a little bit again. When my Limerance experience happened, I was working on some video editing things, making moving images, and at home, but at a very small scale. And when I first initially ran into that person, I didn't even take them seriously at all. But then I remember looking at the world that they were involved in, the people that they were involved in. And it just felt like, wow, like if this is written in the stars, if I somehow manage to get with this person, then I fit in that world like a puzzle that's missing. from it. And there's this sense that the co-creator doesn't really love me. The co-creator doesn't really love me. But with this person, they already embody it and I embody some of it, so it will happen quicker for me. So it feels like some of the dreams that you have are at a very small scale, but with that particular person, it will take you to the next level of it because you feel like the co-creator or universe doesn't think you're able to do it on your own. It's a tough conversation. And this is one part that I really missed, which was really interesting. In Limerance, you usually, especially if you've been through it a couple of times or whatever, you already know that that person is not for you first of all, or that person is usually taken. But I never thought that the person that they were with was also someone that I was after. Does that make sense? Because even as I say it, it feels a little hard to digest. I remember with this particular lady, I had seen her on his Instagram, and I was like, I think that's a friend, but that was like low-key me being in denial because she had popped up numerous times. But for some reason, I was like, I just saw her as a friend. But then I remember like feeling low-key that she felt like a more grand scale expression of me in a way. Like, it felt like she was me if the universe supported me. She was me if circumstances change, and I hope it hits you as much as it hits me as I'm talking about it. I will say, like, the second time around when it happened, again, the person was taken again, but it didn't feel like the woman was the expression of me, but it felt like the world that he was in, again, it just felt like it was taking my dreams from a small scale to a grand scale level, almost like a level that I felt like I couldn't reach alone. Take this movie, Vicky Cristina Barcelona. That is like one of my top favorite movies ever, right? Cristina is fascinated by this passionate Spanish artist in the whole film. And then on the surface, it looks like a love story. But when you watch it again, knowing what you know now, right? She wasn't fascinated by him. She was fascinated by the reflection of herself she saw through him, right? She respected him as an artist, as this guy who could say anything and make anything and just like just be outlandish and an uninhibited artist. And she was willing to follow him anywhere because that's who she wanted to be. She even had said in the clip, and I'll insert the clip here. If you listen to her, she's saying how she feels untalented. She feels like she has no talent at all. And you can see how much it eats her up. But the thing is, even her personality, who she is, she has everything. She is everything what an artist is. And she left at the end still searching, still looking for it through someone else. That's what limerence does when you don't understand it. You keep looking through the mirror instead of into it. So I want you to think about your experience right now, not the person, the world they moved in, the people around them. Who kept showing up that you couldn't stop looking at? Whose work, whose life, whose way of being? Did you find yourself more obsessed with them than the person themselves? Because what's interesting is now, for my first limerence, I barely even think about, I mean, the person is always going to be imprinted in you, but I go back to look at the work of the woman. The woman, her creations, right? Because now I understand that it was a reflection of me that I was looking at. What was it about that world that felt like something you've been starving yourself of? That's a very important thing to look at, because what I was doing at the time and what they were doing at the time, especially with the first limerence, it wasn't different, but it was at a grand scale. All right. And talking about the channeling, okay, how are we channeling the limerence energy? Just like you, because if I did it, I know you're doing it too. If you're romanticizing the activating moment, and if you're like right before you go to sleep, you're like scrolling through TikTok and watching videos about how do you know if like the tension is mutual, or just a bunch of videos on like intense eye contact and blah blah, and all these videos to kind of relive the memories of it. You have given yourself permission to have an emotional love affair with desire only if it involves romance. What if you found a way to, what if you started doing that with your desires? Now, here's the thing though. You have to play around with the desire to see which one will actually activate you. You have to, for example, instead of saying, I am going to Paris, perhaps it's going to be, I don't know, selected for this residency in Paris, and it's fully paid, and a car service picks me up, and just imagining how it feels, how easy things feel, right? Like how good and easy things feel. Learning to create butterflies from your desires of your work, how good that would feel. Because you don't have the reference points of desires that give you butterflies for your own work, for your own life. But you have no problem generating it for romance. I think I skipped something here, and that's there's one part that is inevitable. Like you literally cannot go on without doing this. You have to stay away. You have to cleanse yourself, detox yourself from that person, and not see them for as long as you possibly can while you're doing this work, because you have to approach it as if your system has been compromised by a very strong signal, and since you don't have any other references of how to generate it, you're going to be having withdrawals. So you have to stay away for as long as you can. I would say even more than a year if possible. while you're doing this work, because it is serious. If you guys are able to comment on, can you comment on how long your limerances have lasted, and if it's still going on? I'm curious about how long has it been, because I do want people to see, to take it seriously, that it, like, this will take so much energy from you if you don't really tackle it properly. So yeah, the first thing for the channeling that I had mentioned is beginning to have an emotional love affair with the desires that you have. And as you're beginning to think about that, you might encounter the issue of, oh, I can't even begin to visualize it, and it's okay if you can't begin to visualize it. And this is the next thing that I want to talk about. What will help you is, as you're visualizing the desire that you really, really want, or you think you cannot have, start playing around not only with the image. Let this thing pass. Start playing around with the tone of the voice of yours. What tone of voice do you have in that image? Back to the, and I'm gonna connect it back to the activating moment. In that activating moment, aside from the eyes, what else activates you about the person is their voice. And the reason it's their voice is sound penetrates the body quite easily. So it gets into your subconscious mind the most easiest without resistance. And something about the bass in their voice, whatever it may be, is, it reminds you, it's almost like a call for your authentic self to come out, or the next version of who you're supposed to be for the quantum leap. I'm getting annoyed with using the word quantum leap because I see how it can be used as such like a buzzword, and I think people just kind of use it to sleep sometimes. So I'm a little hesitant to use it, but it is quantum leaping. So the voice helps with the quantum leaping. So you want, since, think about it, like the activating moment was a sensory overload for you. So in order to kind of channel the same thing, you have to play around with the senses, basically. Specifically with the tone, imagine different tones and see which one lands. For me in particular, it was a tone that was coming not from my throat, it was a tone coming from my belly. So when I was visualizing the person, me, in that next in my next leap life, right, this voice, kind of like now actually, it was coming more so from the bottom up and not from my throat. Okay. All right, yeah, and here's what I do want to say. The goal is not to forget them. We've been sold this idea that healing means indifference, that you will know you're over it when their name doesn't move you anymore, when you become indifferent, when they become a stranger. That's not healing, that's erasure. Excuse me. And you cannot erase something that is real. Once something has moved you, has shaped you, has changed you, they will forever be there, but the relationship to them will change. So let's talk about again some of the things. I have already mentioned this, but you have to surrender. The part of surrendering is detoxing. You have to stay away from that person for as long as you can. Because in limerence, you lose the thread of yourself completely. Everything runs through them. Every thought, every decision, every desire. And you don't even notice it happening until you remove them completely. During this time of removing the person, you're gonna realize something. It will look boring, okay? I had to learn to love boring. And I want to be honest, I didn't love it, not at first. Boring felt like losing. Boring felt like the frequency was gone. And that frequency was a way to generate an emotional connection to my body. Like that feeling was beautiful, right? So when I was alone by myself, like I would summon that feeling. I did not want to lose my relationship to it because I thought that that was my only connection to that type of aliveness. But during the boring, when you're bored initially, what's happening is you're clearing out space for a new identity to form. And boring morphs into something. Boring morphs into focus. It morphs into space, into newness, into devotion. Not the explosive clarity of limerence, but something quieter, but something that is yours and actually sustainable. The next thing that I want you to do is when you get on social media, I want you to focus on look at identities that trigger you. Like look at identities that feel like, oh my god, I should be living this life. Why do I not have this life? I should be living this life. Like find images that bring about that type of feeling, because even though initially it might feel like a gap or jealousy, you will slowly learn to turn it into, oh, this could be me. Oh my god, actually this is me. Wow, that feels good. And then using that and then returning that to that feeling every time that you can, like you did with the limerent moment, like you thought about that every second. Now returning to that moment of having a love affair with your own desires, other desires that you haven't given yourself permission to, and being like returning to them again and again and again and again. And the reason okay, so this is how I figured out this part of the permission of feeling a desire that is not involved in romance. So when I direct the energy towards a person, even now, even after all of this, I still catch myself going through Reddit threads, eye contact videos, signs he's attracted to you, generating that giddy, hopeful feeling. And it feels good in the moment, but it leads nowhere because the agency is outside of me. So I remember returning to those moments of activation, or even these ones that I just mentioned, and then it would feel good. I would get butterflies, and then just kind of it will be gone. The energy will be gone. It will move to something that is not in me because it was outside. Because if I'm doing that, then what is my role? Think about it. If I'm thinking about, oh, I felt this tension, oh, this person kind of like looked at me and then I felt it, I swear it's real and blah blah blah, but what is my part? Why am I giving all this agency away? The target doesn't truly exist the way I think it does. I've given the power to someone who doesn't even know they have it. They don't even know they have it. You might have a strong feeling that they feel it too, but you really don't have any confirmation of it. I've given the power to someone who doesn't even know they have it. Here's what I realized. I have given myself permission to feel expansive about men, to dream big, to feel it in my body, to ruminate. That channel has always been open, but my own desires, the one that don't require anyone else's permission, I put a ceiling on how good I'm allowed to feel about those. And I'm beginning to understand, just beginning. This is also the beginning for me, just beginning that the same feeling is available for my own life. Okay? The identity that I'm building. When that activation energy goes towards those things, the dream revolves entirely around me. So this is a healing relationship with also the co-creator and I. Because in the past, I remember I mentioned to you guys that I felt like the co-creator was kind of, when I say co-creator, God, universe, had a preference for other people. He had the I said she. The co-creator had a preference for the limerent object because I am able to achieve those things with the limerent there. But by myself, not to the level that I think. So this is healing the relationship that you have with your co-creator as well. Nothing external has to cooperate, but I can't do both at once. You can't keep running to the old hits and build a new channel at the same time. So with something that's energetically massive, we're repeating some of the same things again. You go cold turkey, you remove the source completely, and then slowly you build a new direction. So yeah, this is about quantum leaping. This is about new identity. This is about giving yourself permission to go all in for your own desires that don't involve romance. This is about also healing the relationship that you have with God, healing the relationship that you have with the co-creator, because and also healing the relationship with power, with what you're able to create and achieve. So some of the questions that I had asked you some questions and some other ones. Were you already doing a version of what you admired in their world, quietly at home, not fully claiming it? What desire did that experience show you that you haven't fully let yourself have yet? And then I want to ask you, do you go all in? Do you have an emotional love affair with your desires that don't involve romance? And what would it look like if you had an emotional romance with your own desires, things that you wanted to see in the world, what would that look like?